there, Zillstar. I am super excited to be with you here today and to introduce you or perhaps reacquaint you to the wonderful world of zills. First of all, thank you so much for taking this journey with me. I have found in the last 20 years of belly dancing that the last decade or so has seen a little bit of a downturn in zill playing, which I feel is hopefully starting to come around more recently. So I congratulate you on having the chutzpah to come on out and play your zills and to be part of a legion of belly dancers who will not let them die. So I totally appreciate you being here. I, for one, as you may already know, am completely obsessed with the finger cymbals. I love them. They are one of my favorite instruments and one of the main ways I express myself while dancing. And my hope is that I can not only convey to you my love for them, but also give you the tools that you need to love them too. So I am super glad that you are here. So just in case you are new to finger cymbals, or perhaps you only own one pair of finger cymbals, which by the way, I think is a little bit like owning one pair of shoes, I am here to introduce you to some of the possibilities when you go out and pick out a pair of zills, be it your first or your 40th pair. There is always something new and exciting to be found. If you are just starting off with zilling, it's often recommended that you start with a slightly smaller size zill. So I have several from my collection here. I'm going to pull out these are from the contemporary line from Saroyan Mastercrafts. These are some of my earlier zills, as you can tell by the fine layer of tarnish that are on these zills because I've been playing them for quite some time. These are definitely slightly smaller in size than what I currently play. They are much lighter weight, and especially if you are building up those zill muscles in your hands and your arms, this can be a really fantastic set to start with. I often start my students with the Nefertitis or the Arabesque, also from Saroyan. I'm a huge Saroyan fan because they have so many zills to choose from in a variety of metals, so you can always find something that appeals to your eye and to your ear. When you go to pick out your first pair of zills, and if you want any help with this, please talk to me. I love to talk to people about buying zills because I'm always wanting to do it myself. You can buy most zills in a bronze, a brass, or a silver. The brass and the silver are the more common on the Saroyan site. There are other people who manufacture zills. Turquoise International and Zildjian as well have some great zills out there. My expertise is mostly with Saroyan because I've tried them all, and Saroyan are kind of my favorites. But the brass, you will find, have a slightly deeper, more mellow tonal quality. And even though these are small, they get a very nice ring to them. The beauty of buying things off of the Saroyan site, if you do choose to shop online there, is that they have an MP3 file for every single pair of zills. So you can actually listen to what they sound like before you buy them. So these from the modern line, as well as the Arabesques and the Nefertitis, the beginner sets, are pretty lightweight and very easy to get comfortable with because you don't feel like you're lifting weights with your fingers when you buy them. So this is one option. When I started playing, I started with smaller zills, but now I really enjoy playing with a slightly larger zill. I find that when I'm working with multiple different sounds, as you will learn as we play the zills together, multiple sounds are key to making the types of rhythms and the musicality that you want with your zills. I find that slightly larger zills have been useful to me because they're slightly easier to maneuver. So let me grab another pair. So here are my Saroyan Grecians, the large Grecians in silver. I just picked these up last year and I'm really loving them. These are larger but still lightweight. So this is kind of a nice combination of lightweight yet large. And so when I play these, I'm able to easily adjust my hand between my various zill positions quickly because the zills are larger, therefore slightly closer together. And so there's a little bit less hand maneuvering I find that is needed to get my hand into the position that I need them to be. So like I said, these are the silver. The silver tend to be a little bit higher in tone typically. And so if you like the very clear kind of ring-like, bell-like quality of the zills, you might prefer the silver style zills as well. So one other, so these ones are my favorites. I actually have these in both brass and silver because I love them so, so much. These are my Afghanis in brass, also very well worn and very tarnished. I should probably polish these every so often. These are also larger and a little bit heavier. What I like about the slightly heavier zills is they really give you a weight in your hands and allow these clacks to be very earthy. So they also have a nice ring, fairly mellow sound because they are the brass, but a really nice weight and heft to them because they are a little bit heavier, fairly flat and nice and big. There are so many finger cymbals for you to choose from, so it can be a little bit overwhelming when you start to play. One word of warning. While I will always endorse you playing any set of zills over not playing zills at all, quality can make a big difference in your enjoyment of playing the zills. There are zills everywhere now. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them in like a random shops in Chinatown. The quality is not always the same. And while, yes, you will be able to practice creating your rhythms, you will be able to create that muscle memory and start to hone your rhythmic skills with the zills, you may hate how they sound. And you won't want to practice them because they sound like you're playing two pairs of tin cans, right? So beware. There are a lot of fairly good quality zills out on the market now that are not that expensive. Don't get me wrong, you can spend some money on zills. I'm eyeballing a pair right now that are like $190, but you don't have to. For like 30 or 40 bucks, you can get a good quality pair of zills that's going to sound good, stay fairly in tune, and last you for a very long time. So I would encourage you, if you are considering a first pair of zills or a third pair of zills, to consider something that is very well made by a reputable retailer and not just whatever you find on the internet. Okay, end of soapbox. A quick vocabulary note. Zills is actually a Turkish word, and zills actually isn't a word at all because the S is like an Americanized pluralization of the Turkish word zil. And so we're talking with a sort of Turkish American word about an instrument that exists all over the Arab world. Most of these are actually made here in the US. But if you start to look at what is played in Egypt, what they're playing there is typically sagat. And the sagat are not only just a different word for the same instrument, but they're made slightly differently. The sagat is cast rather than stamped. So these zills are actually put into a machine and stamped into this form, stamped with whatever artwork they're going to have on them. And they typically have two slits in the top. If you can see here, I have my elastic in here, and there are two slits in the top where the elastic goes in, and then I sew it along the back. Whereas on the other hand, the sagat typically have a single hole in the middle, and they are cast. So they are definitely thicker and much heavier than your typical zill will be. These are a lot of fun to play as well. I'm not nearly as good at them because they have that single hole in the middle. When you put them on your finger, you will notice they wiggle a lot. And that's actually part of the charm and part of how you can play them slightly differently than you would play your zills. So it is a slightly different technique, though. I would say that at a base level, everything you can do on your zills, you can do with your sagat as well if you're careful and kind of play with it to get the technique differences down. This is something that I'm still working on, but to give you an idea of what these sound like. So I love these. They're really fun. I love the sound. They're very high pitched for being bronze, but that wiggle factor is so challenging for me. So I find that my hand positions often change. So these are like my little mini sagat that I bought at a dance workshop years ago. And then I have my monster sagat, i.e. my dinner plates that came direct from Egypt. These things are ridiculous. I love the sound they make. But I need to change my elastics on them. And they always pinch the inside of my hand. My hands are too small for these sagat, but they are fantastic. So I would steer you towards the two slotted zill to get started. And then, you know, the sky is the limit from there. So no matter what pair of zills you decide to buy, I want you to have fun with this endeavor. We are learning a new skill, and we are one of a handful of dancers that also get to be our own musicians. If you think about it, there aren't a lot of folk dances that fall into this category where we can really create the music or add to the music that we then interpret with our bodies. So that officially makes us, in my humble opinion, total superheroes. And so have fun with your superhero-ness. Grab a pair of zills that you adore the sound of. And if for any reason you find that the timbre of zills in general, of metallic zills, gives you a headache or really turns you off, there also exist out there wooden zills that will allow you to get started and to play. Their sound is very different, of course. They don't have quite the same ring, but you can get all of the technique down with a pair of wooden zills as you search for a pair of metal zills that make your heart happy. So this gives you a little bit of a beginner tutorial on how to pick out finger cymbals, what to look for in a pair of finger cymbals, and the differences between zills and sagat. These instruments are so old and have been found in tombs in the Middle East. They are that important. So who are we to say we don't want to play them? So I invite you to go out and get a great pair of zills and start zilling with me. I promise you, I'm going to make you a fan in no time.